All right. Okay. So let's move. We spent the last couple of days or the last couple of weeks talking about the South U.S. and we talked about like race issues and stuff with the South. And then we went out west and it was a lot of like Indian stuff, mostly. Let's deal with the East now, the Northeast. All right. So our big number today is this M or N? What are we on?
O.
O. All right. Big number O, monopolies. Monopolies. Okay, so do you guys know what a monopoly is already? Yeah, Rain, what is it?
If I know correctly, it's like when like a company or like some, buys other companies so it like spreads. And then like in America, we got like 6 huge companies that own like everything. And it's a monopoly. I don't know if I explained that right, but.
Yeah, you have kind of the right idea. Let me give you a nice clean definition, okay? So a monopoly is when one company owns an entire industry. When one company owns an entire industry. Hi, Lindy. Can you turn on your camera for us, please? Okay, so a monopoly is when one company owns an entire industry, okay? In your notes, let's put under here, put on the left side, put monopolies are bad, and then we're going to put some bullet points going down there. And then on the right side, put competition is good, and we're going to put some bullet points underneath there. Okay, so the American economy is what we call a capitalist system or a market economy, and that means that we want our economy to be as freewheeling as possible, right? We want new companies to be able to rise up. We want new products to come to the market. We want new, inventors and stuff to be able to make money off of their new things, right? And new business people. That's generally what we want. All right, so what's the negative of a monopoly? Do any of you guys understand what the negative of a monopoly is?
I feel like I don't know if I'm right, but I think like the negative of a monopoly is that you end up not getting like individual businesses. It just becomes like this huge one that dominates like all these other ones. So it's not really like free, like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Rain,
I'm not good at explaining.
Yeah, you have a pretty good understanding. Allison, Esther, Lindy, do you guys know anything about how much do you know? I don't know how much you guys need me to explain because sometimes students have heard some of this before. Give me a scale, like maybe a 1, 2, 3. Like 3, you're pretty confident. 1, you don't really know much.
It's hard to
not a lot.
I know they're bad, but I just it's hard to explain into words. So
okay,
I don't know.
All right, so okay, so if let's picture in our mind that we are a little town, right? We're in a little town, and I own the only shoemaker. I'm the only shoemaker in the town, right? So I make shoes, and you guys have no choice. You guys have to go to my store to get shoes, right? You need to wear shoes, and I'm the only one in town, so you got to go to me, okay? Do I have any motivation to make good shoes or bad shoes? Like, do I have any motivation to improve the quality of the shoes I'm making? No, because you guys are all trapped, right? You guys have to buy from me. And so the first thing you need to put into the monopoly bad column is that the quality of goods goes down. The quality of goods goes down. I never have to make better shoes. If you guys have to buy my shoes, then I can just make them crappier and crappier and crappier. In fact, I can actually make them worse, lower quality, because you're still stuck. You just have to buy my shoes, right? So now I get like cheap shoes with cheap material that fall apart after just a couple of months, right? And they're not really pretty, and you guys just have to suck it up, because what are you gonna do, walk barefoot, right? So there's no reason for the quality to ever improve, okay? That's number one. The next thing that goes in there is variety. Variety declines, right? So let's say one of you guys wants, you know, hiking boots, and one of you guys wants like high heel pumps, right? You don't want to wear hiking boots to your ballroom dance, right? Or something like that, right? One of you wants dress shoes, one of you wants hiking boots. You all have to just suck it up because you have to buy whatever I want to give you. That's the way it is, okay? All right, next. What do you think, Esther, what do you think is going to happen to the price?
It's probably going to go up.
Yeah, why do you think it's going to go? Yes, it will. You're correct. Why are you correct?
Because since if you're the only person selling shoes, then like that'd be the only option. I don't really know.
And well, you have no choice. You guys,
Yeah.
again, the consumer has no choice, right? You guys just have to buy my shoes. So let's say this month I sell you a pair of shoes for 50 bucks and they're kind of ugly and they fall apart pretty quick, right? And then you come back to me, you know, 2 months later to buy some more shoes, and I say the same pair is now 75 bucks, right? And you're gonna say, hey, that's not fair. It was 50 before. And I say, well, it's 75 now. What are you gonna do? Walk barefoot? Right? So the price, the next negative you have, we have quality goes down, variety goes down, and price will always go up. Price will always go up. Okay. Now, Lindy, what do you think is going to happen if somebody in the town tries to make a new shoe company? What am I going to do to him?
It'd probably be pretty easy to put them out of business because you're already the main provider.
Yeah, absolutely, right? So if Lindy, if you try to make a new shoe company, right, you go out here and you say Veenstra shoes sucks, right? Esther, Allison, Rain all hate Veenstra shoes. I, Lindy, am going to make better shoes, right? I'm just going to run you out of business because I already control the access to the leather and the plastic and the workers and the factory and the shoe store. You know what I mean? Like I already control all of those things. And so if Lindy starts off, maybe she makes the shoe and the best shoe she can make it and she has to sell it for like $80, right? Because she can't get supplies as cheap as I can, right? So now I just make the same shoe for $70. And then I just wait for her to go bankrupt. As soon as she goes bankrupt, I'm the only one in there again and I jack the price up to 100. Okay? So the next thing you need under Monopoly is competition is destroyed. Competition is destroyed. Okay, so now let's go on the other column here. These are reasons why competition is good. All right, so competition is going to be good. What is competition going to do to the quality of products? Rain, what is it going to do to the quality of products?
Like the competition or like the main
competition. So let's say we're going to change the scenario. In the town, I have the shoe store, and now Lindy comes in from another city. She has a big shoe store in the other city, and she opens up a store where she can compete with me now. What's going to happen to our shoes? What do you think?
You might like, I think maybe you could either like run out of your business and you can get bought out, because if a new better company comes in, then they can buy you out.
Okay.
And product you, right?
Right. So what's going to do, that's correct, but I want to get to the middle step. Like you jump to the last step. Okay. So in the middle step, what's going to happen to the shoes? Like if you Rain, Allison, and Esther, you guys go shoe shopping and you're going to look and you're going to see what's on the shelves. What's going to happen to the shoes on the shelf?
Do you, would they decline in quality more or would it get better?
What do you think?
Maybe get, Well, if you're in competition, maybe you would try to make them better. That way more people come to your store to buy it.
Absolutely. Quality is always going to go up. Okay, quality is always going to go up. Because now if we're competing with each other, Lindy can come in here and she can say, hey, buy my shoes won't fall apart after 6 months, right? Veenstra shoes keep falling apart after 6 months. Mine will last you for, a year. And so you guys are all going to go buy her shoes because they're better quality, right? And then she'll come back and she'll say, hey, you guys don't want leather shoes? Well, I have, whatever, cloth shoes or plastic shoes or wooden shoes or whatever else you make shoes out of, right? Poly blend something or other shoes, right? That she's going to say, hey, I have these different varieties. Okay, so what's going to happen to our quality goes up. What happens to variety, Esther? Esther, what's going to happen to variety?
I'm sorry, but you keep cutting out. I didn't hear what you were talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. No, what's going to happen to the
It's
variety of shoes if we have a lot of competition?
The variety of shoes is probably gonna there's gonna be more of a variety because there's more competition.
Exactly. Because now Lindy's Shoes is going to be able to say, we have the same shoe, but we have them in black, and we have them in brown, and we have them in blue, and we have them in red, right? Where Veenstra Shoes only has them in black, right? So the variety is going to come back. And then Lindy's going to come back and she's going to say, hey, I have high-heeled shoes, I have athletic shoes, I have whatever, dress shoes and athletic shoes and, lounging about shoes and like shoes to go gardening or something like that, right? Like she has a bunch of different varieties. Quality goes up, variety goes up. Okay? All right, what's going to happen to prices, Allison? What do you think prices is going to happen to price?
They're probably going to go down because they want the people to buy their shoes and not the more expensive shoes.
Exactly, right? Because we're going to finally get into this price war where she's selling them for $50 and so I sell them for 45, and then she comes back and sells them for 40 and I sell them for 35, right? It's a benefit to the customer. Everything is better for the customer. Better quality, better quantity, better variety, and cheaper. Cool? Now, what's going to happen? What's going to happen to other businesses? So what's going to happen if, say, Esther wants to get into the shoe business as well? Lindy, what do you think is going to happen to that?
It just creates more competition.
Right.
So,
is it easier or more difficult for a new company to rise up?
well, it's easier than having one of them, so easier.
Yeah, it's definitely easier to rise up, right? If Lindy and Veenstra are in a competition already, it's pretty easy for Esther to just jump in, right? Because Esther could jump in with like some kind of specialty shoe, right? Esther's like, I specialize in dress shoes, right? Where Lindy and Veenstra don't really make very good dress shoes, and Esther makes really good dress shoes, but doesn't make athletic shoes, right? And then Allison jumps in with athletic shoes. You see what I'm saying? This is how you get like Coco Chanel and, Nike, right? Is that they all specialize into, different kinds of shoes. Are we good? I invited Maddie. Maddie came in, but I don't know what happened to her. Oh, there she is. I see you, Maddie. All right, so why are we talking about monopolies now? Okay, the next thing you need, your next line down here is, this time in the United States history is the time of the rise of monopolies. This is where big, giant companies start showing up. Big, giant companies start showing up in the United States, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and they start making just buckets and buckets of money. The Northeast, after the Civil War, the South is rebuilding. The West doesn't really have anybody in it, right? The West is still mostly empty. The Northeast becomes big, big business. This is one of these points where the United States culture is going to be defined. We're a country of big business, right? We're a country of big, giant, monster companies that have, that control huge, huge, vast amounts of money, right? Amazon.com, Apple, right? Amazon, Apple, Walmart, McDonald's, right? All these big giant companies, they basically all control like entire countries worth of money, right? If Apple was a company, if Apple was a country, Apple would be like the 50th largest country on the planet Earth, right? And the United States has like a dozen of these big, giant, massive companies, right? This is the birth of that. This is where it comes from. Prior to this, the United States had been mostly small businesses, mostly just little farmers. But now, this is the point where Americans are moving into the cities are getting big, and the companies are getting big, and fewer people are going to be working for themselves. More and more people are going to be working for a big company. Does that make sense to you guys? What do you think is what's the biggest company of all at this time period? What would you expect?
Amazon.
No, I'm sorry, of the time period in the 1870s.
Oh.
90s. What would you expect?
Oil.
No. It's railroads. This is my regular US class.
It's because he always bombards mine.
All right. I don't think they can hear you with the mask on.
Because he always bombards my classes.
Okay. Anyway, I'm in the middle of recording. All right. In your notes, underneath there, put that the largest companies in the United States are the railroads. Everything that's making money at this time period is all coming out of the railroads. Whether it's steel, whether it's oil, whether it's everything else, everything's coming out of the railroads. All right. We have to deal with our two biggest money makers, our two biggest tycoons at this time period, Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller. Let's go to big number P. Big number P is going to be billionaires, our first billionaires, the world's first billionaires. All right, first person we're going to deal with is Andrew Carnegie. He's up here, spelled up here. What's going on? What do you need? What can I do for you? All right, Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie he makes his money from steel. Okay, so you put Andrew Carnegie, he makes his money from steel. At the time, he was worth somewhere around $300 billion. That's US, that's today's money. Okay, if we convert the money to today's money, this is about how much he was worth, $300 billion. Now, do you guys know who the richest person on the planet today is?
Is it Jeff Bezos?
It is Jeff Bezos. Yeah, today it is. And how much is Jeff Bezos worth?
Oh, like 100 billion, I feel like, right? Like in the billions. More? Like 500 billion? More?
No.
Oh,
Jeff Bezos is worth about $180 billion. Like $180 billion today. And he's the richest man on the planet, the richest person on the planet Earth. Okay. Carnegie was worth 300 billion. Okay. He was worth so much money. So how did he make all of his money from steel? He was actually a poor immigrant. He was a poor immigrant from Scotland, came to the country with nothing. And he worked in New York as a delivery boy. And he would just go and deliver like the mail, essentially. He would deliver the mail, and what he would do is go and deliver the mail to all these different businessmen and banks across New York. And when he went in there, he would just kind of hang out in the banking headquarters. He would like deliver him a package and then just kind of hang out. And he made friends with the bankers there. And he would make friends with these guys and just kind of ask them, you know, oh, how do you get into banking? And what do you do? And can you explain this stuff to me? And the bankers basically just started explaining stuff to him. And then they got to know who he was and they became friends with him. And then once they did that, then he was able to ask them for loans and they gave him loans because they liked him. Right? It's not about what you know, it's about who you know. Have you guys heard that before? Yeah, well, here you go. This is the best example of the same kind of a deal, right? Carnegie then traveled to Europe, and he saw some of the industries that were going on in Germany and stuff at the time. And he basically just made friends with the German steel companies, and he figured out how to make steel. And then he brought back to the United States, and he went to the bankers and he said, hey, I have this German method that I just learned by my friends in Germany, and now I want to do it in the United States. And so the bankers just gave him some money, and he started buying small little mines. And once he made those ones profitable, he bought another little mine and another little mine, and bigger and bigger. Okay, this is going to get us into two big concepts that you need to do. I'm going to put them in the chat. Okay, so the first one that you need is called vertical integration. Vertical integration, and then the other one you need is horizontal integration. Vertical integration and horizontal integration. We're going to define them both, okay? And you put yourself enough space that you can put a definition and then an example in your notes. You can do them as two columns, or you can do them above each other, you know, one above the other, that's fine. All right, so vertical integration is where you buy everything in your supply chain. By buying everything in your supply chain, you cut costs. So you cut costs by buying everything in your supply chain. So Carnegie, in his case, he realized that the most expensive thing about steel was transporting it. It was super, super expensive to transport it from the mines. And so what he bought was the railroad. He started buying a little railroad that connected from his mine over to the smelt work, right? And then he would be able to transmit it for free. And that cut his iron cost down by like 30%. And once he had cut that cost down, he bought another mine and then built another railroad to it, right? And then he did it again and did it again and did it again, okay? And then he realized, oh, now I need to buy like the shovel factory, right? Because we need a lot of shovels. And so he buys the shovel factory. So now by buying the shovels and making his own shovels, he cuts his cost down by like 10%. He keeps cutting his cost down that way and keeps expanding the amount of money he's making. So think of a modern day example. If McDonald's wants to do vertical integration, right? McDonald's, one of the largest companies on the planet Earth, right? McDonald's, they want to do vertical integration. What do they have to do? What do they have to buy? Everybody, give me something that they have to buy. What does McDonald's have to buy in order to do vertical integration?
The cows.
They're ranches, right? And McDonald's is the largest ranch in the world. It owns massive, it owns ranches the size of Texas down in Brazil. Okay, so number one, McDonald's has to buy ranches. What else? What else do they have to buy?
Factories.
Factories to do what?
Wash up the cows into meat factories.
Okay, so food processing plants. We don't usually call them a factory, but food processing, right? Because you have to turn that cow into burgers, right? So like a slaughterhouse and stuff. So McDonald's owns massive, massive food processing plants. What else do they have to buy, Lindy?
Probably potatoes. But
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they own giant potato farms, but they also need farms for like lettuce and tomatoes and for all the other stuff they have, right? What else? What else, Allison?
Maybe they could buy like the soda companies or something.
Okay, soda companies are too big. They can't buy the soda company, but they could buy distribution plants, right? What else? I'm sure McDonald's would love to buy Coca-Cola, but Coca-Cola is just too big, right? I'm sure McDonald's would buy Coca-Cola in a heartbeat if they could.
I don't know.
So McDonald's also buys shipping companies because you grow all that food down in Brazil, right? That's where their ranching is. And so you got to ship the food up. So you buy shipping companies, and then you buy trucking companies, And then you buy like a printing company, so you can print all the wrappers, right? You buy like an equipment company, so they can make all the kitchen equipment, right? Every time they buy one of those things, it makes it cheaper and cheaper and cheaper for them. So now we have a situation where McDonald's today will sell like a Big Mac for like, you know, $4 or something, right? A Big Mac is like $3 or $4, but it only costs McDonald's about 10 cents to make a Big Mac. And they sell it to you for $4, right? That's $3.90 profit on every Big Mac they sell. Fries are even more. If you buy fries for like $2 for a large fries, something like that, right? That the fries only cost McDonald's about a penny. That's how cheap they are, right? So McDonald's is making just buckets of money, okay? All right, so vertical integration, you control what? You buy all the parts of what? Allison, what do you buy? For vertical integration, what do you buy?
I'm confused. What did just
Okay.
like in
Give me
this time?
the definition of vertical integration is where you control everything. What? You control all of what?
The supplies and I don't
Supply.
know.
The word you need is supply chain. So vertical integration is where you control everything in your supply chain. Okay. Horizontal integration. Horizontal integration is where you control all of your competition. Horizontal integration is where you control all of your competition. You buy all of the companies that are competing with you. All right, so a good example is Disney. Rain, did you have a question? Yeah.
No, I was gonna say like how Facebook bought Instagram, but
Perfect. Yeah. Facebook bought Instagram and they bought Snapchat and they bought WhatsApp, right? And they bought,
Really?
yeah, all of that is owned by Facebook. Every time you use Snapchat, you're using Facebook. Yeah. All of those things are owned by Facebook. Yeah. They also, I think PayPal, they own PayPal too, I think. Yeah. So they bought all those. Disney is the example I like to use, right? What did Disney buy? What does Disney own?
they bought Fox.
Fox
They
Studios,
bought,
yeah.
like Lucasfilms. They bought
Yep.
that whole thing, right? Now,
Yep.
did they buy National Geographic? Yeah,
Yep.
they bought tons. Like
They bought Fox Studios, they bought Lucasfilms, they bought National Geographic, they bought Discovery Channel, they bought ESPN, ABC. They also bought Marvel Studios and Pixar Studios and Studio Ghibli, the Japanese one for anime, right? All of that they bought. And that's every time Disney does that, they're buying some of their competition, right? The result is that like last year, the top 10 box office, the top 10 movies in the box office, 8 of them were from Disney, right? And the top 8 of the top 10 movies were all from Disney. So Disney is incorporating horizontal integration by buying those studios, okay? McDonald's is doing vertical integration by buying farms and ranches and shipping companies. Are you guys with me on that? Okay. Carnegie and Rockefeller both are the inventors of this idea. These guys both invent this. Okay, so let's do Rockefeller now. Rockefeller makes all of his money on oil. He's the oil guy. And he does some of the same stuff that Carnegie does. He makes friends with the bankers and he makes friends with the bankers and the bankers, give him loans and things like that. What he does also is he just starts buying up little plots of land. Like he buys one plot that has oil on it, and so he just buys everything around it because he thinks he's going to be able to get oil from them, right? So he just starts buying cheap land everywhere he can find that's connected. And then once people realize that there's oil there, he already owns all the land around it, and so he sucks the oil out of the ground. And so the guy in the middle can't even drill because there's nothing left. That's basically what Rockefeller does. And Rockefeller ends up making about $320 billion. $320 billion. Now, these two men become the richest men on the planet Earth. In fact, the richest men the world has ever seen. Yeah. So if you think about how much money they're making, Carnegie is making the equivalent, he's making $230 million every year, when the average man in the United States at the time was making $489 a year, right? That would be the equivalent to today of about $15,000. $15,000 today, a year, and he's making $6 billion a year, okay? Up until Jeff Bezos, this was the richest that anyone had ever gotten in a year, right? Jeff Bezos made $40 billion this year, 40, because coronavirus shut everything down, and so everyone bought everything on Amazon. The entire world was buying from Amazon, and so Jeff Bezos made $40 billion this year. But before Bezos, these guys were numbers one and two, okay? At the height of their power, Carnegie controlled about a third of the global steel, about a third of the steel on the entire planet Earth, and Rockefeller controlled almost half of the oil on the planet Earth at the height of their power. They controlled so much, okay? What do you expect is going to happen to them? Knowing what you know about monopolies, what has to happen to these guys? What will the US government do to them? What do you think?
Taxes.
Tax them? Okay, maybe. What else? Got to think bigger. Does the US government want a monopoly or no? We don't want monopolies, right? So they're going to actually, these guys are going to make so much money that the US government is going to start attacking monopolies and is going to start breaking the companies up. Okay, Standard Oil, that was his name of his company, doesn't exist anymore. His company is now today Chevron and Texaco and Exxon, right? Holiday Oil, they're all their own they're all in competition with each other, and they all used to be one company. The US government forced the company to break up into smaller pieces. And the US government has done that for a lot of monopolies over time. And you'll see that as we get going. As we move into the next era of time, the progressive era, we're going to get a lot of monopoly breaking. A lot of that. Cool? All right. Do you guys have any questions about this kind of stuff? No? All right.